Hello and welcome to I Was Just Wondering with me, Tom Salmon, the show that dives into music, film and games and everything else in between. My guest on this week's show is the choreographer, movement director and visual artist Che Yubina. I jumped on a Zoom call to find out more about Che's pivotal moment of creative transformation, why she recently retired from her Cheshir Ha persona, deep dive into her choreography work, her newfound artistic freedom, and a mission to challenge the idea of perfection within the K-pop music industry. So let's get into it. This is part one of our two-part interview.
So just firstly, so for people who aren't familiar with you and your work as a visual artist, movement director and choreographer, who are you and what do you do? And feel free to flex as much as possible.
I see myself as a visual artist and also movement director is like a recent one that I'm trying to work on more. Work-wise, like career-wise, I did more of like a choreographer. I did more work as a choreographer. Also trying to do more things as a visual artist and as a movement director, and just expand like all the things what I can do.
So I just want to say, so primary people would know your previous persona, Cheshir Ha, as someone who's basically predominantly done choreography work for K-pop and hip-hop. From what I can sort of gather, the things I've sort of seen is obviously your work with Lisa, which we'll jump into a little bit later. But is there any sort of particular work within that arena that people would know you for that you would like to highlight now, just so people can kind of check that stuff out?
I recently worked with Soyun from Seso년, and she's amazing artist, and she's the someone I was look up to when I was young. I was listening to her a lot, and we made music video few months ago.
Yeah.
It came out 2 weeks ago or something like that. And that one is most satisfied thing that I ever did with some artists.
So who was Cheshir Ha? And I guess in the past you've talked about putting a mask on in certain situations and taking it off when you dance. So why did you create Cheshir and how did she help you early in your career?
I think I was always been someone who's not really good at socialize with people, and I wasn't really good at open up about who am I, because when in my childhood I never felt like I'm accepted by someone, so that made me to be I don't want to talk with people like this. But Cheshire was really made me to having a good tool. Cheshire was a great tool for me to open up to people and showing my side.
So in terms of when you were looking at personas, where did you kind of think about, did you look at other people's personas and were like, okay, right, I'm going to take that and then I'm going to sort of make it my own kind of thing?
My nickname was Cheshire when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
But in the Alice Wonderland, the Cheshire cat,
yeah.
cat, and they're smiling like this, and I have similar smile. So that was just my nickname when I was young.
I see. Yeah.
But after times when I realized to be I made the persona, the whole different persona, and I named it as a Cheshire like this. So now I can see Cheshire is more coming from my insecurities.
And just sort of picking up on the point, you said that you struggled younger to be sort of accepted. So where did that sort of stem from? Where did you feel that you weren't quite sort of fitting in that regard?
I think in Korea, there's a lot of things I had to questioning about it to my parents, to be why we have to do this, or to be so nice to older people, even if maybe they can be a good people. Why do I need to respect people only because they are older than me? To put myself down to people just because they are men. Those type of simple thing wasn't being a simple thing for me. I was always too caught up of those type of things in culture wise. Yeah, I think those type of things make me to ended up doing opposite things.
Right.
So I wanted to be nice to older people only because they are old, or don't want it to be nice to other people or something like that. Yeah, those type of thing was made me to having a guard to people, and it was nobody really gets me.
It's interesting you sort of say that. So was that just something that naturally sort of this sort of pushing against sort of like authority? Is that something that you've always just sort of naturally sort of like come to yourself, or was there a particular instance where you're just like, oh, what's this all about?
I think like my parents, the way how my parents grew up me like was pretty
Yeah.
different than other people because I was always being some girl have a lot of questions, and when I asking things to my mom, then my mom never saying things to be like, you just do it. People, everyone do it, so you also need to do it like this. She always gave me a good reason about it and make try her best to understand about all the cultures. And so I think the way how my parents was open up about like open to hear about my opinions. So
Mhm.
I think I was pretty lucky for that.
Were your parents sort of artistically inclined themselves? Did they do anything in the arts themselves?
No, my father is working in army. He's a soldier, and my mom is psychology. Nobody is in our family is like coming from artistic side.
So in terms of your like dancing, so when did you kind of like start? When did you get bitten by that bug?
I started to dance when I was 10 years old. It was
Mm.
quite late than other people. I didn't because K-pop was always been huge in our childhood, but it didn't really affect me that much because my father didn't want to have television in our home. So I didn't know about any media. Like I didn't really have a lot of time to really see the media of K-pop and something like that. So I actually started to like watching things through like friends, and I watched like K-pop videos, and I never really like at the time it was like a girls generation and Wonder Girls, like those type of K-pop artists. I never really had interest on female K-pop artists. And I was like, oh, that boy band really dance well. I wanna dance like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just started just like that.
When did you kind of discover that you actually were this really amazing like movement and choreographer artist? When did people be like, oh my God, like you're like insanely talented?
I always think about it like this. I know what I can do,
Mm.
and I'm not sure that other people will be like what I like, you know.
Hmm.
But if they like what I do,
Hmm.
then they have only one choice.
Yeah.
So I was always think about it like that. So that made me to having to be like, okay, like this is my taste and I know what I can do. Say other people like, oh, I don't think that's cool. And I'm like, oh, I don't mind because we are just having a different taste. So I just had that mindset very simply from the beginning when I was started dance. I think I'm probably gonna teach very in an early year, like this, or early age. Then
Mm.
all of my friends like, "You're so cocky," like this, and then I'm like, "No, I'm really just serious about it. Logically, if people want my things, then I'm the only one choice. So I
Mm.
feel like if people like my things, then I guess I will be doing some work."
Because I know with like sort of especially like K-pop, there's the idea of being like a trainee and you do a certain amount of years at one of these sort of institutions, academies, however you want to sort of like phrase it. But did you spend like a lot of, you know, a good number of years sort of like training, working your way up, and then as you say, like teaching people your choreography, your sort of like style?
In Korea, our dancer scene can be divided to be underground and commercial side. And I started in underground. So for the underground, it's more like having like battles and like we just doing competition together and we just like living life as a dancer. And for the commercial dancer is who's working for K-pop. So I'm definitely not coming from that scene. All of my career was started from underground. So all of my class was started from like dancer. So dancer was taking my class, and after that, the artist was like, "Oh, I want to have you in commercial side."
Can you remember the first time you went, that's a like, Cheshire track, and the beat sort of like glued itself to your DNA? Because you must hear and feel music in a very unique way. So could you maybe put that sort of like first feeling and experience into words?
I don't really remember like a first time. I think still now I only have one song that I really feel like that's my trick is from by Chane Aiko, Nobody. And I
Mhm.
really loved it since I was like really young. So when I first hearing that song, it just felt like I'm meeting someone just like me. Like it just felt like I'm meeting someone not as a, like a song, as a person, and they
Right.
are talking themselves, but it's almost feel like they are myself type of things.
Mhm.
So it's just very magical and like even like very in the detail, like the way how they choose the beat or the way how she spoke, she like used her voice for lyrics. Everything just felt like as a like human. So like they just came to me and like hi, and like I'm like hi, you're like me, and we just like mirroring each other like this.
Yeah. It's more as a sort of like narrative of somebody's actually physically like talking to you, than it just being like a more technical execution in terms of like just like the beat and the rhythm. And I just want to draw attention to just a few songs from a few years ago that you were sort of like dancing to. So Big Sean, Body Language, Destiny Rogers, Tomboy, and Tinashe's Party Favors. And what strikes me about them, it's quite bass centric sort of like music. Is that something that sort of draws you in terms of the music when you're listening to it rather than just like the drums? Is it the bass that really kind of powers, I guess, like that dance motor within you?
Yeah, I really like something kind of like cool, like these type of sounds, because it just really felt like, because I recently realized I might be really fit with like rock sound, not
Mhm.
even a hip, because even the some of the song that I like from hip hop side, they have a like a rock sound type of.
Yeah.
So like I was actually trying to try out more some band sound and rock sound rather than hip hop. Only my favorite material will be beats and like just having like really heavy sound that really made me to, I don't know, dance cool.
And I guess like in terms of your musical taste, because I guess like if you're teaching hip hop choreography, you're sort of like locked into a certain playlist of sort of songs. But in terms of just sort of generally sort of speaking, like how is your general sort of musical taste? Because you've spoken about being interested in rock music as well. So I just wondered how that kind of came to you. And also, I guess like this is a bit of a naff question, but in terms of being in like South Korea and then like, and I guess because we've got the internet, but how do sort of more Western sort of stuff come to you? You know, because I notice a lot of the stuff you dance to is more Western than say like Korean.
Using K-pop, like using Western song more than K-pop is, I feel like I definitely had a lot of impact by Anthony, who's already in this. Anthony is someone who worked with me a lot as a
Hmm.
video, and he's been really my old friend since I was like 19. He was always like recommended some track to me and something like that. So even like a Destiny Rogers song, he was the one who was like, "Yo, you should check out Destiny Rogers track." So I was like, "Okay," and I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." Like, so I think like my taste of music was started from like an experimental thing. That was the first thing that I really liked. Like I don't know, let's find some example for the artist. Like like Aurora. He's doing a lot of like experimental sound and something like that, and that
Yeah.
was definitely my favorite when I was like around 19 to 20. And after that, I didn't want to do any serious thing. So I was like, I just want to dance and just without thinking like this, do like all the rhythms and hip hop things.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I think for now is I want to be more. I grew up more than before, but my music taste doesn't feel like it's grow up just like me.
But I just kind of wondered when I watched you were, wearing the baggy two-pack hip hop t-shirts, the cargo pants, and the Vans, and then the pull-down baseball cap. I just wonder, was that a sort of like a suit of armor that you were kind of like had to kind of like put on to be sort of like Cheshire to command the sort of like respect, so to speak, of the room?
I think like for fashion wise, the funny thing was I never had interest of fashion things. So everything was without thinking. So it was even interesting for me because I can see like all the dancers who's taking my class, they become like they dress up similar with me. So I can see how I impact them. And there was always been like a funny thing for me because at the end everyone was like wearing like really big like clothes. It was like a bittersweet moment because I started to wear big clothes because I was insecure about my body. I was always been a skinny girl. Everyone was making fun of it. I didn't want it to show my body, so I like to cover all of my body with big clothes so then nobody can know like how my body type it is. So that was the biggest reason why I wanted to get rid of Cheshire, like all the Cheshires, what all the like iconic things of Cheshire was coming from my insecurities. So it was very weird for me to be like people love me to wearing heavy makeup and clothes, and
Yeah.
they think that's so iconic. But all that image is was just came from like younger myself to be like, oh, I don't want to show my face because I think I'm ugly. Let's cover it up. My body like this. So it was very like weird for me to feel like, oh, like you guys like the way how I insecure about myself.
Interesting.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like that. So even clothes was like that.
In terms of like how you've spoken about, in terms of how you present yourself
Mm.
versus your contemporaries, your other choreographers, and how do you feel about, I guess, like choreographer fashion or drip in general?
I don't really have any opinion about other choreographers. That was always been my thing. I just never measure myself with other choreographers. Even when people asking me about some opinion about certain choreographers, I don't know because I'll never gonna know who are they, what is their purpose of doing
Mhm.
this job. Some people just gonna be set it to be like, okay, I'm good at dancing, so let me try to use it as like to earn money, and which is not the bad thing at all. Everyone has different purpose of using art and just how they living their life. So even like the choreography wise, I don't know, like fashion or I don't know anything. I just don't really care about it. I think I always just focus on me, my past, and my future.
Okay, so I just kind of like want to jump into the kind of, I guess, like the high point of like Cheshire's era, basically Lisa's channel from like Blackpink, and you did the movie, which was basically done to Dusty Rogers' Tomboy as the final dance performance video that you did, which obviously brought you like a lot of attention. So kind of like how, because I know this was like the final one, but how did that also like come together, and how did that kind of like change your career trajectory?
Now I'm slowly realize about it. Even at that time when people like telling me to like, oh, like you're a success now, like something like that. It just felt like I just did something that satisfied me. So I'm still trying to figure out what this affect me, even in a good way and also in a bad way, so then I can like, how can I say, is it sound mean to say like use to like how, so then I can know how to use about my experience. When I was did all the little film things, I wasn't really had a lot of experience making choreography or like working with other artists. So but that made me to having really like a authentic combinations with the artists, but also in the same time, I don't really score myself in a high score because the experience is also count very lot, just like talent, but I
Mhm.
wasn't really a lot of experience. I was like, okay, I know what I can do with my talent and with my, I don't know, genuine side, but let me try to have more experience and also being someone that who's easy to workable. Yeah, I think that like all of that situation made me to having think like to be like, oh, I need more experience.
Like, what's that sort of collaborative like relationship like on a sort of like technical level between the two of you? Because I understand that she can look at a piece of choreography and it just literally just goes into her brain. It's just very, very quick. So in terms of you, like, how far did you push her and how far did you push yourself? And did you get to a point beyond where you kind of thought you could kind of get to with this piece of work?
I think all the collaboration thing with other artists is always have to be having a big trust with each other. I have to trust what she can do, and she need to trust what I can do. I think those when I have those type of trust with artists, I can do my best, and also for the artist, like she can do her best. That's how I felt for Lisa, also Soon as a different way, because I think both of them as a they found me. She found me the first as a choreographer, and she trusted me of my ability, and we was like connected really well with those type of things. Hoyun is she trusts me as a movement director because she's not a K-pop artist. She doesn't know how to dance. She trusts me as a movement director, and we made really good music video at the end. And that tells to people to like the way how we like how I was like still being friends with Lisa, like working wise, and also being friends with Soyun, not even working wise, tell people to be like this combination was real. Yeah, I think the trust was the biggest thing.
How much, in terms of the negative sort of side of things, of when you're dealing with very successful and very famous people, that the actual art and craft of what you do kind of gets lost versus the sort of noisy preoccupation with like, well, what's so and so really like? It doesn't really matter, like in terms of like the work's the kind of work. I mean, have you encountered a lot of people just trying to like clout chase?
I think that make most of the people's value will be the fame. It just made me to be like, what a sad world that we are living right now. No, a lot of people just care about fame, and there's so little people. There are so many famous people in this world. So people who's actually talented and like good at what they are doing. And that made me to having to be like, oh, this is so sad because they must be have a lot of talented people around the world. Now a lot of people just think about the artist as a more like a product, make them as like fit with their taste, to be like, oh, they're like a let's say they're like a pretty boy, so I want them to do all the pretty things. There will be some pretty boys who doesn't want to do pretty things. I think those type of things artists to be more make artists to be feels like, oh, I am a product, so I have to be famous. And even for the audience to be like, we gave them the weird power of like, we are the one who's choosing the products, so I will get you in famous, like type of thing. When I see those type of thing, I always don't delete it. Because I want to I want to always keep all the hate comments so that they can see it again. Because like I don't really get affected by that, because at the end they don't know me. Still my post, and that made me to have a more audience of mine. So which is good for me. But sometimes like especially for the K-pop scene, they have very like toxic culture for the internet to realize about like what kind of things they are doing to other people. And so I just leave that.
So how did you start to find that sense of confidence within yourself to say like, okay, this is how I look, this is how I am, and I guess like just get comfortable with that, because I guess that's an important thing for people to kind of understand.
I like like everyone has the reason of being insecure about something, and that situation will be probably like a traumatic experience for them. But if you have more traumatic experience for that, then we can have a space for thinking to be like, oh, like that is scary, not that matters. So I think I was so around 22 at the time I was doing all the I was editing Lily Film 3 at that moment, and I don't want to really talk about it, but I just had really traumatic experience in my life that led to having things to be like, um, I don't want to work right now, which was a huge thing for me because I always been a passion. I was always been like a very passionate about work, but I felt like this is the time that I need to just, how can I say, like take care of myself. So that was the actually biggest reason why I went to Germany with my family.
Right.
Because when we think about business wise, moving on those periods is a stupid idea. But I was like, I don't really care about it. Let me just breathe. I need to breathe right now. So I left Germany. And after that, that actually made me to having a lot of time to thinking about myself, to be like, what am I doing right now? And how do I take care of me when it comes to be like without artists? Why I value myself as an artist more than myself, you know? I need to like take care of myself more and just do better art with that. Cause I do think insecurity side is always gonna be kind of like a big tool for artists. Cause that's like the easiest way to making a cool art. That's how I think. So I think using insecurity things is a beginner for the artist. But I don't stuck in there. And since I noticed a lot of things about myself, I wanted to step up more. So I want to see my art without having insecurities. So make my art something like not related with my insecurity, but still make to be like, oh, that was a really good art and I can relatable about it. So I decided to be more, how can I say, strong, just to be just be myself, coming from the artist thing that I felt like is better than myself. Just like make it to be like I always gonna put myself first rather than artist and make myself better and make myself having a better character, better thoughts and proceeded to be an artist. And I realized if someone like someone just having so hard time to actually breathing on that moment to be like, I don't know if I can still living type of thing, then all the insecurities it doesn't matter at all. Everything's just gonna be like, I don't know what should I do. I don't want to do anything. Well, that's all the things when we can cut off. So I was in that experience and after that I was like, okay, insecurities don't matter. I'm glad that I'm still living and didn't made any stupid choice about my life and still willing to like living my life fully and just keep doing it. I think I can count that as a like, oh, you already did a lot for yourself.
How much does being like, for a better word, of being like a workaholic, of being somebody who's just continually sort of like grinding, it's essentially required of you, how much of a part of that is your sort of like personality?
That was always been my personality. I think since I started my career, because my family was financial wise, they cut it when I was almost in high school. So after that, I started part time job in my high school and just like living my life by myself. But I do think my parents made a good choice about me because I have a lazy side. So if someone helped me, then I'll be the one to okay, let me like be late on that. So I was always caught up to be like, oh, I wanna like earn money, something like that. I think like earning money type of thing is I started to having that passion recently, but before was to be success.
Right. Yeah. That's two different things, being successful and earning money. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to be like a, I guess, top at the time. So I worked and
Yeah.
after now, like, oh, I want to like live myself, my life while having a hobby type of thing. Live my life better. So I'm trying to earn more money. But yeah, I was always being somewhat like just workaholic. I was like there's one time I was hang out with friends, like four of was there, and everyone was the same age. And at the time, I was like 23, and we was like hanging out. And at that night, after, because at the time it was COVID, so I couldn't work at the time. So there's one time hang out together. After that day, I felt shame about it. It's something that I should not do. So I was like, oh, that was fun, but that's not the thing that I need to do right now, type of thing. And one of my friends was telling me to be like, Cheshir, you're 23. Like you have to think about your age as you. Okay, I'm really supporting you as a, that you're working hard, but also play hard. So after that, I was like, okay, I need to play hard as well. And what should I do? I need to wake up early so that I can have more time, like having a same amount of time for working, but also have a for like hobbies and something like that. Now I realize the time and health is the most important thing.
So how did you start finding yourself artistically?
I think like I was always had interest on creating something. So I still think I might do another job after doing this all choreographer things, because at the end I just like to create something, right? The movement is tool.
Yeah.
But since when I was young, I like to, it was started from clothes. I like to design the clothes. And after that, I like to writing things. I wanted to be a copywriter. And after I was like keep like switching like that. And my mom was like, she has something in an artistic way, but I'm just so worried about her because she always losing interest things in 2 years. It was different because dance was, I don't know, I just keep doing it. So that's why I'm here. But I just like to create so many things that make me to just be like, oh, I think I have those type of things. And I still don't know why.
So you did Dance and Dream, which I believe that you were dancing a sort of art space, and there was a guy playing guitar, and then there was like a back sort of projection of like lightning and stuff. So I just wondered, because you in that sense you're more of a performer. So what's that kind of like, and what's it like branching out into stuff like that? And is that more the direction you would like to kind of like move in?
Everything was, what is it, freestyle. Didn't know what kind of music that he's gonna be play, and I didn't know what kind of like a media art the art is gonna be played. So everyone of us didn't know what are we doing. So everyone just went there, and I just felt like people. This is like a thing that people actually just communicate with their art, and we was trying to figure it out, like what will be the middle of us. So it was very like a different things that I ever did so far, because I always worked as a like choreographer or something like that, not really as a performer. I prefer to perform in the video, like, but not in like a not in a stage. That was, I think that was make me a little bit scared, because I can see them so like here, and yeah, I wasn't really like enjoyed to perform in a stage only because of that reason. That was just really different. I just didn't have any time to care about audience, because there's so many things that I need to figure out with the guitar list and the video art. It was really like a really good combination of things.
You'd assume as a choreographer, movement director, that you're equally confident in all three sort of like disciplines. But would you say with like being a performer, that's still something you're trying to sort of like find within yourself?
Like as a performers or like feature artist, I think about myself as a more actress for a movie, not like an actress for theater. I think that's how I feel, because I like to playing a lot of roles and just committed with it in the video, and that's what I like to do. I think I still didn't have full like a lot of experience to be figure out to be like, oh, like performing on a stage is not worth for me type of thing. Till now, it's like just video is more a thing for me.
Where do you pick from in terms of like contemporary like dance culture? I guess like further out than just say like hip hop or like K-pop and stuff.
Style wise, I like to like try a lot of different things, but I do think my base in is contemporary. Not even like a base of movement, more is more like a base of how I interpret to the movement is more like a contemporary wise. And I think that make you to think more to be popped up in a Fishman and Still Awake, that one, because both of them was improv. Like there's no choreography in the video. I have without choreography, I dance more like that.
I just wonder in terms of for you when you see say like famous like dance scenes or when you're picking from these sort of like moments, what do you appreciate about other dancers' work?
I think like for like a professional dancer, is I get inspired by them to be like their choice. They choose these type of style and they like to use this type of style for these type of thing that's interesting like this. And I recently switched it to be like I like to watch some non-dancer dancing. I think most interesting for me for now, like right now is because the way how they choose the movement is just so authentic. They don't know any rules of dance. Do what they want, and that made me to feel like because for me I can't do that anymore because I already have so many thoughts. So if someone said like just dance, then I'll be like I don't know. Like I like to see when people just like do their things. It can be just only a movement. So let's say in a subway, some people will be like watching their phone like this, and people like doing like this. It's so interesting like this. I think now, because since I switched up to be like more in the movement director side than choreography will be more very based on music, but movement direction is very based on themselves, you know? Switch up like that, and now I think like just non-dancers make me to having more inspiration.
It's like choreography, you have to kind of like get people to do stuff. And then like I guess movement director, you're like, well, this is the lump of clay that I've got. It can do this, this, and this. It can't do that, that, and that. I have to figure out how to.
You can think about it to be like for choreography is you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like this. And for the movement direction is thinking about your swimming like this. Then they're gonna just do whatever they want. I realized those type of direction is more fit with me. The way how I choreograph things is I movement direct myself first, get into a choreography part. So something like when people want some catchy movement and something like that, then like it's raining, then somehow I need to think like, oh, what am I doing in a rainy day? Probably my hair gonna be wet, so let me just like. So I do think like movement directing is like here, and choreography is inside there.
Towards the end of like 2022 and the days leading up to the point in your life when you finally said goodbye to Cheshire Ha. What was that sort of journey like when you were like, all right, I'm going to make this Instagram post where I'm going to clearly define like my Cheshire era has ended and this new era sort of like started?
I don't think about it as like a goodbye. It's just like a better version of Cheshire. That's how I think. Even when I was Cheshire, it's not the meaning to be like, I was completely different with Yubin and Cheshire at the time. Like I was Cheshire at the time, cause like even the things like putting the mask to people, that was me. So, like I don't think about it as like a Cheshire was like a whole different character, but it was more like I was like that, and I was very like even when people like interrupt me and they giving showing love to me, I didn't know how to receive it. I was like, oh, why do you talk to me like this? Like, please. And I was like, run away. Because so all of my friends was always telling me to be like, I look like a road cat. because I was always like hiding by people and don't want to interact with people and something like that. That side definitely got changed a lot in this year. I genuinely have interest on people now. So
Okay.
I want I want to know what are they doing and how they're doing.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, Cheshire is always gonna be me as
Mm.
well, and
Mm.
it's just gonna be a better version because I think Cheshire is more like I was high. Yubin was just not grow up well till from 18, 17. She was
Mm.
there. I didn't have any time to experience things or thinking about myself or something like that, getting into the career thing as a
Right.
treasure. So I think like human wise, like I was stuck in there. I had enough time to thinking about who I am, and I think now I feel like I can be truly just be myself, which is like not really insecure about something like I used to have,
Mm.
and caring people better version of myself. So future is always gonna be there, and I will always try to do some sassy thing and cool thing if I want to do it.
And you sort of telling me a little bit about the dance performance video that you did to Rochelle Jordan's Dancing Elephant video that you made with your frequent collaborator and film director, Anthony King, which we spoke about a little bit earlier before. And I think he's pretty much filmed everything you've done so far. And he's a very talented dancer himself. I've seen him dance in videos. So that must make things, creatively like easy for you to work with someone like that.
I don't need to do any rehearsal with him. That's how much I trust him. So sometimes I just like bring him to the studio and yeah, it's a shooting day. Because we really just don't do any rehearsals. Because I just make the video. I just make sometimes if I make choreography, then I show him, but mostly he don't really watch it. Shoot and just do it. When we do our combination is really like our value is really showing very well when we do improv and he doing improv thing. That's the way when like a good things coming out
Mm-hmm.
because we've been know each other since I was 19. Like when I just started my career, he was always being like my favorite videographer, favorite friends. I just never had to worry about things.
And I believe he's American, right? Did he move over? Did he live there? Like, what's his sort of deal? What's his story?
So I went to LA when I was 19. That was
Mm.
my first time to go to LA. And he was just one of my friend's friend. Because for Anthony, he was came to Korea even before he met me. He had friends in Korea because he's very like he's really good at talking with people. So he knows a lot of people, but I didn't know about him. We find out we are actually very we can be a close friends. He's how can I say? He's someone like if I do something wrong, then he'll say that I'm wrong. So I always get help by him, like and listening about his opinion a lot, the art side or even as a life side. So I always want to work with him when I do
Mm-hmm.
something with artists because that's how I always feel comfortable about. Like this video is all Choreographer is always the one pick for me because he's also really good at what he's doing.
And obviously, I would say also single out. Obviously, Anthony's camera work is like exceptional because a lot of this sort of stuff I watch, I'm like the guy behind the camera is almost doing as much dancing as the people in front of the camera. The way to sort of zoom in and like move around and stuff, and it's just all effortless.
I think he's very good at catching those type of things because he is also a dancer as well. So I think that's really benefit him to like doing all the movement things. But for dancing elephant, it was just very simple because since all of my work had so many deep meaning behind, so I wanted to make something without having too crazy meanings. This dancing elephant was the first thing that I did it with my team is like Chedo is coming from Chedo. Everyone have different history of dancing. So I wanted to have to be like, I don't want to show any specific style on this. I want everyone to think about to be like, oh, they just dance like this. So that was a biggest purpose. So even for the song wise or style wise, I try my best to not cut off in a one style, like walking or like locking or popping, those type of style. I didn't want it to show that side. So I just wanted to make everything just look like we're just having fun.
And then just following on from that question, so like you've booked the choreographer job for Itzy's sneaker music video. Could you just walk me through like the creative process from like the initial idea you get from listening to the song?
We mostly don't go to set. Company gave me really like specific notes, really good for me, because that's like really better than some company who doesn't know what kind of style they want. So they had specific like things that they wanted to show for the things. So as a choreographer, working as a choreographer is like need to I need to have very good understanding of what they want. They have very like specific topic for that. So it was like quite easy than other things. And it was like fun to do it because they all wanted to do a little bit like a groovy things. And when I make like a choreography for K-pop artists, I have to think about myself as a K-pop artist because there are so many things that I have to understand about themselves. I have to watch all of their previous like work, what kind of movement that like this member is good at it and this member is not good at it, and something like that. Everyone has different like strengths on their body and something like that. So I have to very like be careful about those type of things.
People like are actually going to want to do these dance moves themselves, so it can't be like too crazy that regular people can't do them. I guess that's a consideration.
Of course, because like working for other people is not the time they're showing my dance skill, you know. So I have to really understand what kind of thing they are good at it, and I think like let's say like if I made a choreo and I do better than them, I don't think that's a good result. I think that's the biggest thing that I have to think about when I working for other artists.
I think like just sort of following on from there, so like it's time to switch things up. You're going to be teaching a workshop in heels. How does your mood and energy change when your balance is shifted to the heels of your feet?
The heel choreography is started from a joke. So my first heel choreography was Little Film 3. And at that time, we was just joking around. And I was like, so what do you want to do next? And we was saying something like, what should I do next? And I was like, we should do heel choreo. And I was like, ha ha ha. And she was like, actually, I like that idea. So I had to make heel choreography. So it started from the joke, but after that, I think I spent 2 months or 3 months for making that one specific video because I had to understand the basic and also what kind of flow that I can use for the heel choreo because I didn't know any of it. But once I really like get into all the heel choreography, I realized it's very much like it looked like a feminine Pilates. It's like a very good workout because everything is all about balance. So it's almost feel like I'm doing ballet or something like that. Even when I make a heel choreography, I wanna have that side more. So I like to like making everything more look like settled and modern and something like that.
So there you have it. I had a great time chatting with Chi, and you can check out Chi's choreography, movement director work and visual artist work on Instagram at Che Yubina right now. Just hit the link in the description box below. Please make sure you check out part 2 of our interview. There's still lots more great content to come. You can subscribe to I Was Just Wondering with me, Tom Salmon, on Apple Podcast, SoundCloud and Spotify and YouTube, and drop me a sub, comment and like. It really does help the channel. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Tom, and I'll catch up with you next episode.